Welcome aboard. Oh boy. As you can tell, I've got a little bit of a cold. Welcome aboard to Virtual Collage Jam for what is it, December 11th. It is our last collage jam of the year. I can't believe I'm saying that already. Yeah, how did it get to be December already? How did it get to be December 11th already? How did it get to be near the end of 2023 already? These are all questions I ask myself that I can't answer. Anyway, welcome aboard. I hope you're happy to be here and ready to do some collaging or some chilling or some holiday baking or some whatever. Whatever we're doing, if we're doing it together, that's the way it's good. So I'm just gonna say just type into the chat, welcome everyone. It's great to have you along. And what can I tell you? What is there to tell you? Well, lots going on, but I'm just trying to remember. Did I? Yeah, I think I did. I had done. I had. Wow. Anyway, we'll leave that thought because I think that's already enough. So sorry, I because I'm in a class in the mornings, I rush back home and my brain is a little scrambled. It's been on other things, so now I'm just switching it to this. So I hope you're happy to be along, and please say hi in the chat. And we'll get started in a few minutes. So what can I tell you? I think I've told you everything I need to tell you. So I hope you're getting ready for Christmas. I hope you're looking forward to that. We're going to be, as usual, I think, doing a fairly low-key Christmas, which suits us just fine. A little bit of, we don't go crazy about presents anymore. And we'll probably have Christmas dinner with Kim's mom. And so I don't know. I think we're gonna make what to make for dinner is always a source of it's always, I was gonna say it's not a challenge. It's something we enjoy coming up with. I think we don't like we've made a lot of turkey, and Kim said, I'm not that crazy about turkey. And I said, yeah, me either, actually. So the last couple of years, we've done something more like prime rib, and that's way more my style. So yeah. And we got some people joining us. Awesome in the chat. Hello, Lori. Welcome aboard. Nice to see you. And see, quote unquote. And Irina, welcome back. Representing Europe. It must be evening in your neck of the woods. So thanks for staying up to join us. And Jane, how are you? Just came back from World of Threads and thought of Kim and her work as she would have fit right in. In fact, last Thursday we were at World of Threads because Kim is still an associate member at Redhead. She is no longer a full-on member there. But Redhead had a little field trip with several of the artists out to World of Threads, so we joined them, and yeah, wow. That show is, first of all, it's jaw-dropping. In terms of both quality and scope and sheer volume. There's a lot of work, there's a lot of good work, and there's a lot of very diverse work. So it's when I got into the building and started looking around, I said to Kim, we should have brought a tent because there's no way we're going to see all this, be able to take it all in. But yeah, it's an amazing show. So I definitely want to go back. We saw Elaine Whitaker is a longtime member at Redhead, and she had some pieces there that, and we were there with her. So she talked us through those, and I saw some absolutely beautiful, beautiful, beautiful pieces. and very interesting, like just so many diverse ideas for ways to make work out of fibers or knitting. Like there's some works made out of zip ties, um, some just gorgeous and innovative. So yeah, definitely worth a look. Um, hey Lisa Kemp, how are you? Nice to have you along. It's been a little while. Um, you were probably here last time, but like things are busy in my life, so it feels busy. Jane says, "Yeah, pretty amazing show." So right, yeah, isn't it? It's did you take it all in, Jane? Did you manage to? We also were on a time limit, um, so we only saw. I think maybe we saw half and maybe about a quarter of it, like properly, and another quarter sort of passingly. We checked out the work in the gallery, and then sort of the halls basically to and from the gallery, and then there was a hallway of sort of did they call it the runway, I think, or the catwalk, which had the sort of more clothing oriented work, and we went there as well. So yeah, it was amazing. Wow. So our theme today, optional as always, is holiday lights, and I figured that drinks in any number of it doesn't have to be one particular background. It doesn't have to be Christmas, Hanukkah, or anything else. I think even we're in the heart of South Asian land here in Brampton, and Diwali is, I think, approximately now, and it also is a festival of lights. So yeah, hey Val, how are you? Welcome back. Welcome aboard. So, and I think, here in the Northern Hemisphere, we have a lot of darkness at this time of year as we get towards the shortest days of the year and the longest nights. So I think lights it first of all, there's lots of night to show off the lights to best effect, and it's also nice to sort of animate our darkness with lights. So yeah. Hey Ricky. Yay! Welcome. Yeah, nice to have you back. Hey Annie. Wow. The gang is all here. It's awesome. Yeah. How are things in Philadelphia, Ricky? How are you doing? And Annie, nice to see you again. You said you were gonna be joining me for the next term for Group of 7 through VAM. So that's cool. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I came home just not very long before we got started, and Kim was telling me about all these teaching opportunities that we're having around the upcoming next iteration of In Situ. So that sounds exciting. So watch Kim and I space, because we'll definitely have stuff going on with that. And Ricky says Philadelphia is wet, cold, and gray. I'm sorry. Yes, that sounds like an urban winter in North America, doesn't it? Yeah, it's not raining here, but it's and it's not super cold, but it is cool and gray. There's no sun to be found. So it hasn't started raining, at least. Hello, Philippa. How are you? Are you joining us from your new studio, I hope? Yeah, so I'm going to switch to the overhead camera in just a couple of minutes, and I actually have a collage underway, which, well, might as well just get switched to the overhead camera, and then I can talk about what I'm going to be showing you. But meanwhile, let us know if you're going to work with the prompt, and if you have ideas for how, or if you're going to work with something else seasonal, or ignore it altogether and do something else that's cool. That's all good options. So let us know what you're thinking and what you're going to be working on in the comments. And let's get this party started. So light going to go black for just a minute while I switch the camera overhead and get it set up in the overhead holder here, so bear with me. We'll be back in just a moment and get things at least some degree of reasonably reasonably straight. There we go. And get some work light on too would be helpful. There we go. All right, so I started to talk about this piece, this piece under these shards, and unusually I'm going to search today with something that I had started in one of my classes, and then see where that goes from there, and then also maybe start another one after this. But because I'm starting with something I've already got underway, hey, who knows? I might even have something to look at instead of being like a quarter way done as I usually am. So in the last week, in the last day of my Collage course, I try and do sort of fun things on the last day of a course, because usually people will have done what I call their thesis project, which is their homework for something that is their biggest piece. So we look at that, and they've just finished working really hard to finish that. So then I try and do something that's fun and a little easier. So I have exercises or games to play on the last day usually. So one of them was to do a holiday themed Collage, and so so I have up this Collage has, I don't know, there are 8 or 10 layers of some other colors, and then the second to last layer was a gel plate print that was in blues and greens. And I had in mind that I was going to do a Christmas tree, so that I thought would be good. And then I put some dark pieces on the last layer, and then cut back to reveal the tree. And this idea for the snow sort of came about. This was dark here, but I thought I pulled some pieces off, and then I thought I flipped them over, and they were white, and I thought that'd be nice to sort of have a horizon line there. So and sort of a white horizon. So that is as far as I've got now. I've also already cut into, but I haven't peeled up yet, some sort of garlands and some little ornament shapes. So I was going to move on to that. And I don't usually cut this sort of roughly, but I kind of like the way this tree looks because of the like, I really sort of it's the antithesis of my normal very careful cutting. I was kind of like drawing loosely with the knife instead of being more careful about it, and I kind of like the way it's working. So I'm going to continue with this one, at least to begin with. I'll switch to my close-up glasses because my computer glasses don't get me quite close enough, and I'll just see what you guys are saying before I dive in. Hey, Cherie, welcome aboard. Yeah, awesome. Lisa says she signed up for Kim's gel plate course in January. Looking forward to it. You're gonna have a great time. That's gonna be a lot of fun, Lisa, for sure. Irina says today she has no ideas yet. Going to go through my clippings and see what will happen. Yeah, exactly. So that's one of the great things about collage is you don't usually have to start with the blank page, right? You can start with either, oh, I want to collage using this image, or I flip through your materials and find some sort of inspiring starting point. Val says she's not collaging. She's working on making a pendant light out of a world globe for our new house. That sounds awesome. So, wow. Are you like perforating it or something? Like, is it a metal globe, Val, and then you're punching holes in it? That would look amazing, actually. So yeah, tell us. Lori says, I appreciate how you describe your process in decision-making in the design. Oh, thanks. And Cherie says, as so many people know, I have as so many people I know are traveling this season, I thought I'd play with holiday lights of travel. That sounds awesome. Um, Annie says she's sketching, have to clean the house for the holidays, and pulling out collage materials would put me back a day. Yes, it would. If you could if you could see beyond the frame of this camera, you'd see a lot that looked kind of like that. Sadly, that's what my studio looks like. A lot of our house looks like that right now. So, yeah, we're gonna have to rein it in a little bit for the holidays. Jane says, I'm working on something I started a few days ago after pulling out a piece that she started years ago. I now see something I can further develop. Isn't that, I like that when you can, when you're looking through stuff and you look at something and you either were stalled on it or you thought that was going to be it. And then you thought some more and thought, wait a minute, because yeah, going back to the older stuff can be you're not in the same headspace, and usually that's a good thing because you were stalled with it for a reason, and maybe now that reason has passed, right? You maybe were trying to achieve a particular thing and not quite making it, which can be disappointing. And then, you know, a year or two, you dig it out later, and it's like you're not having those thoughts anymore. You're just thinking, looking at it a little more objectively, and either you see its potential or you that you didn't see before, or you just think, well, this didn't go anywhere, so I'll just try and make something of it now. So just that, getting that perspective and not being as anytime we're working on a piece for any length of time, we sort of get some set ideas about it, and we, for better or for worse, sometimes the set ideas are right on and sometimes they're limiting, but work that gets sort of set aside and you sort of, well, I don't know, I just can't face this one anymore, and then you put it aside and maybe it gets buried, and then you dig it out later and it's like, oh, now I see what I could do, or maybe I should try this, or why not try that, right? So these ideas of why not try something, or how about, or all of those things, you're sort of, oftentimes with older work, when I go back into it, I'm not caught up in it in the same way. So I can be more objective, and I can also be more adventurous, right? It's like, I thought it was going to be this, but that wasn't working. So I'll just, who knows, you know, nothing ventured, nothing gained. I'll just try some stuff, right? So, and that can be a really good feeling when you're no longer worried about it in the same way, right? So all right, so I've sort of revealed the garlands, which are mostly showing the red, although I kind of like this one, that this one's I'll see whether I decide to make them all red or whether I want to have maybe alternating. Might be fun, like if this one's yellowy, maybe this one should be not red as well. Not sure what's under the red, but let's find out. Looks like it might be it's like a dark, but that's kind of fun too. It's kind of fun because it goes like from red to something not red, red to something not red to red. So now I cut some really sort of I was working very quickly, and sometimes that means that sometimes that's beneficial, right? So because you don't get too fussy about things. So I cut some, or maybe not fussy enough. I cut some sort of ornament shapes in here, but looks like I need to help them along a little bit. I was going so fast, they weren't very well cut. Yeah, not fully cut at all, some of them. There we go. It's with its rough edges and my sort of like these cuts are very sort of scrappy. Let's put it that way. They're not exactly beautiful cuts, but that said, there's something fun about the fact that they have this sort of rawness. So unfussy. So what I might do is peel back. It looks like the first layer, for the most part, is these sort of warm tones like these. If I peel back to that first, then I can decide, oh, maybe I'll leave some of the ornaments that color, or maybe I'll leave them all that color, or maybe I will vary them. But it will sort of let me know what I'm doing. And then I just had the thought that I could flip some of these things that I'm cutting out and put them back on as white ornaments if I wanted to, in between in other places. So maybe I should save. I've just been chucking them aside, so maybe I should save those. You never know. One of the reasons when I'm doing decollage that I save the scraps for a while is because of that, right? Because you never know when something, you may have the idea that like, oh, that piece that I tore off, I might put it back on, or I might put it back on in a different place. Like, I've taken out those sort of garlands, and I could double the number of garlands if I wanted to. I may not want to, but I could put them back in with upside down, so no longer on the green or the red side. And so again, I think I might need to make a little scrap pile of those so that I don't lose track of them, just in case I decide to bring them back into service. So I'm sorry, I'm snuffling a lot because I have I've been rocking a cold the last little while. Thank goodness for decongestants, but I just took them not long before we started, so hopefully by the end of the jam I'll be feeling a little better, or not snuffling in your ears quite as loudly. I'm curious, for those of you who have been sort of not masking as much as we used to, have you also noticed, like, I sort of stopped masking religiously sort of in the middle of the spring, basically at the artist project, because I thought I started out the artist project wearing a mask, and then I just thought, oh, I'm just gonna risk it and just take it off, because I wanted people to be able to see my face. I wanted to be able to communicate better. And so, but since then, since that was mid-April, I think, this is the fourth cold that I've had, and I'm kind of thinking my body got used to having all the things to catch screened out by the mask, and it's forgotten how to keep me safe from at least some of them. So I'm thinking maybe I may have to go back to, well, it is the time of year anyway to go back to masking, isn't it? If you're feeling so inclined. And I may be, just because I've been getting so many colds. Have other people been getting colds like crazy since we sort of stopped masking as much? I'm just gonna check in on you guys. Um, Lori has a question. She says, I have a beginner question. I have a mat like the one on your right, but I don't want to cut into it sharply. What is the mat you are using for the deep cutting? So the one on my right. Okay, so both of these mats, I mean, they're different brands and different ages. Like this one's a lot older, but they are designed to be cut into. Um, they they are self-healing, and some of the cheaper ones don't heal as well. But the whole idea is that the knife can go straight into it, and the sort of plastic, or it's kind of a impregnated soft material, it heals itself. It sort of closes up. So that's why these cutting mats they're designed to be cut on, like whether you're just cutting a single sheet of paper on them or something thicker. But they also really support whatever you're cutting, right? So even if you're cutting like when you're using a knife to cut paper, pick a different sheet, maybe a better example. It benefits from being fully supported underneath rather than because then you get a nice clean cut. Whereas if you're trying to cut it on something bumpier, or if you're trying to cut it in midair, like, oh, I don't want to, it doesn't cut nearly as cleanly. So the cutting mats are designed for that. So really, I don't give a second thought to how hard I cut, how deeply in my knife goes. This mat on this side is starting to show its age a little bit. Like I've had this at least 20 years. So, and I think they did make them better in the olden days. But it definitely now has some areas where it's got little pits and places where where there's a little bit of texture, and some of the, like over here, I can see some old cut lines. But really, that's after a really long time. This one's a little younger, and I don't see really any of the cuts in it. So, yeah, they're designed for it. So use them for it. Val says, it is thick cardboard that I'm cutting in half, and yes, perforating around the countries we've traveled to. That's awesome, Val. I love that. That's so cool. And yeah, if it's cardboard, then you're going to want some kind of a cool light source so that you don't have a fire hazard. But like LED bulbs should be fine. So that's great. Oh, I love that idea. And making it personal with the countries you've traveled to being perforated around. That's awesome. Jane says, you're so right, Cal, and I've been doing a lot of resurrecting the old stuff and creating new, and I think better pieces. Absolutely. You go back and you see the potential in it that you didn't maybe see before. Judy. Hey, Judy. Welcome. She says, hi, Cal. Just finished wrapping and packing a box of gifts to send to my grandkids and parents in Edmonton. Awesome. I'm here for the creative vibe. Well, welcome aboard. And yeah, if you're just want to hang out or you want to make something, all good things. So yeah. Lisa says, I'm designing a couple of scarves for Christmas presents and prepping the yarn. Oh, that's great. Yeah. I think sometimes when we're listening or conversing or typing in the chat or whatever, it can be good to work on something that isn't that doesn't require our entire attention. So something like figuring out the colors and then and preparing the yarn, and then you can put the hammer down when you have a little more of your brain power. So Annie says she's masking again indoors and at public places. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. Lisa Kemp says started masking again in late September. I've only had a couple of mild colds. That's good. I know, and I know you've had COVID a couple of times, right, Lisa? So yeah, once bitten, twice shy, right? So yeah, for sure. You're welcome, Lori. The one you're using is called Unique. Not a brand Not a brand I recognize, but that's fine. It's already showing lines, so maybe thinking in a different brand. Yeah. Um, hmm. So one of ours is just like Curry's store brand, and the other one, okay, so our really old one is Ulfa brand. I don't even know whether they still make them, but they make the knives that I swear by. These I think Ulfa, if you can find an Ulfa one, it will probably be more expensive. Um, but but it's going to be a good one. But that said, there are a lot of good ones out there. So um, we did buy some small cutting mats at a dollar store to have for students when we were teaching in person. You know, if someone came without a cutting mat, we could say, well, here, use one of these. And we've noticed that they're harder. Like these are sort of hard soft, right? They absorb the knife really nicely. The dollar store ones, you know, you got what you paid for. They were okay, but they didn't absorb the knife cut as well, and so I think they dulled the knife faster, and they also didn't heal as well. So yeah, so maybe try a slightly more premium one and see if that goes how that goes. Oh, perfect. Thank you, Annie. Annie says you can still get Ulfa at Fabricland. Right, because a lot of people who do like quilting, and they use the rotary cutters along a ruler, will use these to cut on for quilting and stuff like that, or just cutting fabric. So, um, yeah. Um, and Judy says, same as Annie, remasking. Yeah, absolutely. I think it is time to bring it back. I think that all my colds are telling me what I need to know really if I'm going to listen to them. Maybe I'm going to go with red ornaments and maybe switch the garlands to different colors. Who says it actually has to even follow a particular pattern? But I might try that to begin with. I was obviously cutting very quickly. I've got very different sized ornaments and very raw edges. It kind of feels like an edgy Christmas tree because of that. So I think because of YouTube, I can't really have a soundtrack, which would be nice. Unless I guess I could find some royalty free stuff, but um, I was thinking it would be nice to have like a Christmas music soundtrack going on right now, but I think that would probably create problems. But what are what are everyone's favorite Christmas albums? What do you like to listen to at Christmas time? Um, I think for a lot of people, like I'm, I tend to get more traditional um, when I'm around Christmas music. So I do like traditional stuff. I do like some contemporary takes on things. Um, and my parents were jazz aficionados, so that was what I always had going on around the house at home. So, and Christmas albums as well. So, some of those are near and dear to my heart, like the Charlie Brown Christmas by Vince Guaraldi. It's always been a favorite but several other ones too. World's Greatest Jazz Band. What else? It's funny that, I'm not really a jazz fan per se, but it's sort of I grew up with it all around me. So then at traditional times, I sort of go back to that. That's kind of fun. There's a garland that changes colors a few times within the one throw. That's actually kind of nice. Maybe I should do a little more of that. Do that by selectively removing like that. All right. For this sort of star, I was really cutting fast and loose, and I kind of like the way what it's done is it sort of created this very loose, expressive sort of a star. And I'm just going to maybe just cut a few more sort of triangular cuts to sort of feel a bit more ray-like, and just see animate it a little more and see whether how that does. Might even glue back some of these pieces back on. I know there's some like goldy colored stuff that I buried. It's right deep down in there. So whether or not I'll reveal it or not, I'm not sure. Also kind of like when I get some blacks too, because it kind of feels like that makes the other rays brighter. It's one of those yellow ones that I knew were in there somewhere. Try and get just a few of those to show. And he says as he rips the yellow out and throws it aside, went right by it. Glue that one back in. That feels like it's a new glue stick. I think maybe I'll save that. I usually have several on my desk because I go through them so fast. Well, it's good to have them at the ready. It's good to use them up before you move on to the next one. That's fun. One of the cool things about working on something when I've got the camera on overhead is I can then look over at my video and and get a much smaller view of it, like I'm looking at it from further away. Got a little reflection going on there, trying, and then I can sort of see what it looks like when I get a little more distance from it rather than looking at it straight. And so I can see some things that I want to tweak maybe. I think that maybe having her face there is a bit too distracting, so it doesn't have to be completely obscured, but I think maybe or completely obliterated, but I think obscured would be beneficial. So I might do that. And I think this is probably her, no, it's probably a different image, but this area, I don't like the way it makes it harder to read the bottom of the tree there, so the branches, so I'll put something under that just to help that read a little better. Little troubleshooting. That's on top, not below. Okay, so, but I have some of the jaggy pieces that I peeled off, so they're from different places, but maybe, I could put in, like, these are pieces that were used, that were taken off from the star area up at the top, but I bet if I just paste a couple of those in where I need them, they can do the job pretty nicely. I'll check in on comments in just a couple minutes. So if you've shared something with us, I'll be there in a moment or two. Let's get a couple of these in first. So for this piece, I'm just looking for something that has sort of similar colors to the background, but isn't as bright, because I feel like that disrupts the read of the silhouette of the tree. So I just looked for something that probably from the same image, but a different part of it that has some of those warm colors, but darker versions of them. And I don't think it needs to be like perfectly matched in terms of size and everything, because the edges are rough anyway. So just pasting that in, I think it's beneficial. And so I'm just doing some thinking, a little more sort of, I'd like to have a little bit more tree showing over here. I might just cut back a little bit more, like that. collage, it's kind of I find, and I'm by no means got this entirely figured out, so don't think that I know what I'm doing all the time. But it's kind of an interesting balance with collage. Like you can be so picky about your materials and your values and so on that you can sort of kill its vibrancy by being too precise. And conversely, if you're not careful enough, then you lose. So it's a balance of knowing that's right enough in terms of value or color or shape, and that, but oh, it's got these other little things um, that add interest rather than detract, right? So um, if you use just like pure colors all the time and don't have enough interest going on, it can make it sort of not, it can make it boring or predictable. And if you have too much craziness going on, then it can make it like I can't see the things I want to see. So how to get that exact balance, I'm not saying I know, but it's something I strive for. So and work in progress, right? So like we need one more ornament down here. Put that in. Feel like it's going to be more of a square ornament than anything else. Chunky, let's put it that way. All right, I said I'd check in on comments, so here we go. Right, so picking up on the cutting mats, Philippa says, I think my cutting mat came from Staples and it's fine. Lori says, I found Northern Lights and Blurry Lights in my cutting pile. Ooh, awesome. Yeah, those are two great, like, Northern Lights are amazing, but also blurry, sort of out of focus lights. Like I think that's what I used for the image for the live stream, was a photograph where the colored lights are blurred, and it can be so beautiful. Something it's hard to do actually with phones because they compensate so much so well. But something Kim and I used to love doing was going to a place where there are a bunch of Christmas lights and taking photographs as we moved our phone very quickly, because then you would get these beautiful arcs of sort of colored light streams. But now the cameras are so quick to adjust. They assume we want a they assume we want a crisp photograph, so they try and compensate for that. Irina says, I actually enjoy that you don't add music. It helps me attend longer. Sure, absolutely. And I mean, you guys can also put on your own sort of ambient music, and that way you can choose to have it on or not. But thank you, Irina. It's good to know. And Cherie says, I've got my Spotify instrumental classical music mix on now. See, there we go. Perfect. Lori says, yes, I like the music-free approach. Good. Yeah. Well, I mean, it's actually the easiest thing for me to do as well. So Lori says, I just found a cutout of a guy in a mask in case you ever do that as a prompt, LOL. I'm surprised I didn't do one in like 2020 or 2021 mask as a prompt, but maybe it's not too late, right? So Philippa says, how many layers do you have there? I'm not sure, Philippa, because I did it a few days ago, but it feels like about, I could count them actually, maybe. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's like 7 or 8, I think. So it's not as many as I will often do with decollage. Hey, Kathleen. Kathleen says, "Hi, Cal, and nice to see your decollage piece here." Yeah, Kathleen probably saw this in the class, in the decollage class that I was doing. So yeah. Philippa says it would make a really neat Christmas card. In fact, that's what I'd been thinking. So because that will reduce it, which often makes things look crisper, and so I will finish it and then scan it and see what it looks like. So. Something I've been enjoying is at this stage in the decollage is cutting out pieces. Like I've just cut out some rays out of and then just repositioning them and gluing them back on, because some of the things that I peel off are actually really useful. So. I just had the idea, and this might be the wrong idea, but it might not be. In for a penny, in for a pound, so I'll give it a whirl. Is to sort of cut a central. I had this idea earlier, and then I forgot that I had it, because I think I mentioned that I started this one in a few days ago, and then I thought, oh, you know what I should do with that star at the top of the Christmas tree is have cut in a finer, small star with like skinny rays in the center of it. And so better late than never. That's what I'm doing now, and hopefully it won't be overkill. In which case, if it feels like it's overkill, I might just I can always glue some pieces over top to calm it down again. But yeah, black is not the best choice, but there's the sort of shape that I've cut out. I think that will actually work reasonably well, especially if I can dig down to find a lighter color in the center. Now, speaking of that, one other possibility is I could slip something underneath. These layers are all pretty loose. Oh, but I guess it'll show in the, yeah, so that, I thought that was a good idea, but I think maybe not. I need to glue some of these loose triangles down. I'm going to do that before I go any further. Each way of working, in fact, this goes for collage, goes for art, I think. Each way of working has its benefits and its drawbacks, right? And decollage, I think one of the drawbacks, not that I'm complaining because I like doing lots of decollage, is in order to be able to peel the layers up without, they can't be glued too well. They can't be glued down too well to begin with. So once I've started peeling layers off, sometimes it's like, oh, I got pieces coming off that I don't want coming off, and I have to keep gluing them down. But I accept that as part of the process that what decollage gives me in other ways, I really appreciate. So it's like, okay, well, that's just the price of doing decollage business, right? So, and you know how when you're working on a piece of art and you need to think about it a little bit before you proceed, that's that's a perfect time to do some of the, well, some of these pieces I know I want to stay here, so I might as well glue them down a little bit. And that doesn't even mean they have to stay there indefinitely forever. I could still fill them up again, but sort of take this opportunity to glue some of these many loose loose bits down. And sometimes with decollage, it's like, oh, this area I need to glue like 5 layers down. Glue that one down, then glue that one down, then glue that one down, all in the same place. All right, let's calm it down a little bit. I'm thinking that I can find something brighter for this central star. There's a yellow. That'd be kind of a nice choice for the center, don't you think? And it looks like it's the next layer down, which is good. Mm-hmm. Got a little decollage deconstruction going on where I didn't want it, so glue that piece back on. Actually, maybe I will leave it off. I think especially now that I've got that sort of yellow core, I like having these darker pieces coming in too, so. Again, that thing about needing to glue some of these down so that they don't completely disintegrate. The star is in danger thereof. All right. A little pause and think about, take a look and see I'm kind of thinking that the ornaments might need to be, at least in the bottom half, a little lighter value. The red and green are sort of similar values. And so always I can always glue them back in if I so desire, but I think there's something more different. Even a dark one like that, and then these. Hopefully, there are one or two more light colors underneath my layers here. That's some of the yellow from the top, which is like a gel plate print. That's kind of nice. Nice to have that a little more variation. I know it seems strange to have like black Christmas ornaments, but there's something, I guess it ties to the background, and I might have some of those so that they relate. Sorry, I've gone silent while I was doing some cutting there. Figuring out what makes sense. Not that it all needs to make sense. In fact, sometimes it's better when it doesn't make sense. A little bit of nonsense is sometimes the best, the best thing. If everything's predictable, well then that's no good either. I like that sort of bright one. This is a darker area of the tree, the sort of bluer area, and having that bright yellow in there is fun. Let's see. Maybe one more bulb in here. I mean, I could keep adding ornaments until I've out the wazoo, I suppose. But it seems to need a yellow one over here that isn't the existing ornaments. Finish your sentences, for goodness sake. All right. I'm going to make this one black, and even though it's, or whatever this black and white image is, and even though it'll be dark and not show up much, I think it's what I need for the balance. All these started out with the ornaments being the same, almost all the same color, but I thought it needed more variety, so maybe more variety is better. And keep putting a few additional ornaments in just to sort of get the balance a little better. All right. Check in with you guys. What's up? Nothing new. You guys are just working away, so that's fine. I have two minds about a few things with this one. So I'll have to, I think maybe I'm at that point where I need to set it aside, or almost. I'm not sure whether I've now made the star too complicated. It's possible. So, well, I'll have to give it some thought. So I'm gonna put that one aside and maybe start something else. What exactly? I don't know. Holiday lights. I'm kind of inclined to play along some of the same veins, or in the same vein of decollage, with some bright colors from below coming through a dark color. And so why not stick with the decollage? I've got these Astro Brights, which are relatively thin, like printer paper, but acid-free and lignin-free in some really zingy colors. So I think maybe what I'll do is lay some of these down, for a decollage, and then get through to them. So either pick black or something that's near black but not quite black. I do have black as well, which could... Black is hard to beat for showing up bright colors, but maybe navy blue would be a little better. I don't know. I will think about that while I build my other layer. So I got pink, yellow. I don't have a lime green one yet. No, and I think I'll include some of these colors that aren't quite as bright and zingy as the yellows and lime greens and oranges, just because they'll still look good out of black, I think, or out of a dark color. Looks like I'm out of... This package had some nice sort of light blues. It doesn't seem to have them anymore. We'll see whether my blue drawer has any of those. I think, speak of the devil, there's one. Yeah. It's obviously a favorite color of mine that I use a fair bit because it's out in the package and only scraps of it in the in my blue drawer. So this is a more subtle color than the one I was looking for, but I could make a base of this sort of mauvey periwinkle kind of color. I think that's what I'll try. And there's really, where was that? Brown. Or maybe it was the brown that I was seeing. Thinking like a deep purple color might be a nice, also a nice color too. For the dark red might be nice. blue is hard to beat too. It's probably going to be dark blue or black, so I think I have those two options. So, and I'm just thinking this idea that I'm working with here is all about like I've only pulled out solid colors, and I'm just trying to figure out what do I think of that. Because if, say, my top color is going to be black, and I'm going to cut through to reveal some of these and maybe some twinkly light shapes, do I? And one option would be, and I don't think I have enough of these, but jelly plate prints might be more interesting because then you cut through to reveal colors that had, or things that had more more variety, color variety, rather than flat colors. But I think what I'm going to do is just go with a flat color or a flat color approach for this one, and we'll see how it goes. I do have an idea that I will lay down my colors slightly offset so you get little glimpses around the perimeter of the different colors that we'll then see when I cut through, and just see whether that works. Oh, by the way, Kim said she might or might not stick her head in, but she's been extremely tired. And so, as you can imagine, from her big push for her show and the injuries she had, which are mostly, she's now walking around the house without her boot and sort of gradually increasing the mobility in her and the use of her foot again, which is good. So it's a week today that she goes to the fracture clinic, and hopefully they will take x-rays again and say, this foot looks fine. You can now start being without the boot entirely now. And she's been doing some of her own rehab. She's been going for rehab, but also doing rehab at home. So, because that is obviously the critical part, right? Is to do the rehab. So what would happen if I said each one of these sheets before I glue it down is going to get one torn edge? That might be interesting. And then show little peaks of those. Around the perimeter, maybe. That's something I like about decollage, is the edges are really interesting, because usually, I mean, you could do it very precisely if you wanted to, where everything lined up really, really well. So that's always an option, but it's kind of fun when it doesn't do that. When I've shown the decollages at when I showed them at Artist Project, I scanned them and made sure there was white all around them, and then carefully retouched the edges so that you saw these irregular layered up edges of the different pieces of paper. And I think that was really, it made it feel like the decollage it was, and it made it really apparent that it was paper, and I really liked that. So so what am I talking about? Why am I telling you all that? I think just because the edges, for me, irregular edges are interesting. And that's something I sort of stole from painting, right? Some of my favorite painters do really interesting, or have done really interesting things at the edges of their paintings, right? Because that can be of course, probably the main action of a piece is in the inside, but when you go out to the perimeter and you see interesting things going on there as well, I find that really rewarding as an artist to look at that stuff. Someone that comes to mind immediately is Richard Diebenkorn, who did that, but he's by no means alone. I think an artist's edge game is really kind of important. What do they do at the edges? What do they do with the edges? How do they look? Why do they look that way? Maybe you don't know why they look that way, but they look. But if they're interesting, that is. I think that's important. Right. Let's see. Oh, that's fun. That's just a piece that I tore off, but I have pieces I can make a sculpture out of here because they're curling up in interesting ways. A pink sheet already. Okay, so it's good that I'm going to put another pink one down. We'll skip that blue. I will check in with your comments in just a minute or two once I got this piece of black laid down. And we'll get started with maybe revealing some of these things through some, well, first of all, there will be the cutting, and that'll take a while. And given that we're running close to the end of the session, it will be probably another piece that does not get finished on Virtual Collage Jam, but at least I started with one that was further along, so that was nice to be able to show something that had been begun earlier, so had a better chance of getting further than I often do. I think I did, yeah, a few, I think in the spring I did finishing up old pieces, virtual collage jam. I think I could, with all the starts I've made in virtual collage jam, I think I could do a year worth of, okay, now I'll go back and finish them. But you guys are much better about finishing yours, so I applaud you. I always have the best of intentions, and then I get on to something else and distracted and so on. So all right. Judy says, where do you find the colored paper that you're using now, Cal? And so I'll get back to you in a second, Judy. And Irina says, my piece is done. Yay. Maybe start on another one. So see, we'll get you guys go. So to answer your question, there are a couple of things that I really like. Astro Brights, now this is a package of black as it turns out, but the Astro Brights that I was showing you just a few minutes or two ago, and of course, can I lay my hands on them now? There we are. Oh, they're there. Astro Brights, I think I just get at Staples. You can probably also get them on Amazon. And then I really, really love these papers. It's Neenah, like N-E-E-N-A-H. Creative Collection Premium Cardstock. And it's 12 by 12, 65 pounds. And I think you can get different kinds of palettes, but this is kind of like a, sorry, get it in frame there. It comes with a whole bunch of different colors, and I really like the colors. And these are nice and these are sturdy. The Astro Brights are fairly lighter weight, and the Neenah is sort of heavier duty. But something I always, because I use photography or magazines as well, I mean, not in this case of what I'm working on, but I like having a foil of like clean, solid colors against richer photographic stuff. Not that I always do that, but it's definitely something I like to have. And in this case, I'm just using those, right? But I like that play of sort of flat graphic versus more textured or nuanced, like you usually get in photography or printed images. So not much time left, but what I thought I would do is I don't even know whether this will work, but it's going to take more time than I've got. But cut out little light shapes like Christmas light or holiday light in this case, like a little bulb and a little socket, and peel them up, cut them out of the black, and maybe have some little rays coming from them. And just see how that works. So, because it's going to take longer, that's going to be a longer project than I have time for, but maybe I can just get one or two of them done so you can see the thinking, and then it'll just be a case of execution from there. But something that might be fun is, because I've got all those colors underneath, I could create different colored bulbs and maybe even different colored sort of bases as well. I know usually the base is the sort of electrical base is usually the same color, usually that sort of drab green, so it hides in the Christmas tree or whatever. But and I don't know whether I'll be able to consistently cut down to the right layer for the bulb and the rays. Like there, I went down to the pink instead of straight through the yellow. That might be kind of fun to have a little bit of variety in the rays as well. Normally, you'd sort of expect the rays to be the same color as the as the bulb, but this is an artistic endeavor, so, and having something that is a little bit unexpected could be nice. So I'll bring that a little closer so you can see it. Hopefully, come on, focus on our little light bulb. There we go. Yeah, it's kind of blasting out the color. This is pink. So this one's basically pink and yellow. And then I thought I'd just maybe just sprinkle them around and then maybe allude to like a wire cord. In fact, what would be smart is if I drew that on there so that I knew where the lights would go. But I might not. I might maybe cut the bulbs first and then connect them with some sort of meandery wire through. But I kind of like this idea of having like these little glimpses of the colors that are below around the outside. So we'll see how that works. And I just noticed, oh, I have got a green. So if I wanted to, I could cut down to the green layer for the cable and for the bases if I want to be literal, or I could maybe just not be literal. So those will be decisions to be made as I go along. So so we're approaching 4:30, but I will just maybe cut a couple more of these guys, and then time flies when I'm doing collage. I don't know if you guys find the same thing. I certainly do. Looks like I can't even cut a consistently sized light, but that's part of it, I guess, the fact that it's a handmade thing. This light's definitely smaller than the previous one. This project that I've now undertaken is a good project for to have tweezers on board for pulling out these little bitty bits I'm cutting for the rays. Oh yeah, I think this should be fun. The first two lights are sort of similarly colored because I think the two top layers below are the pink and yellow. So what I might have to do is have a little more variety, is dig down a little deeper. That's a green. That's and maybe I peel up a bit more on this one. I can give it to a deeper layer, different color. Here, a little green in that one too. And actually, I've got a few little, like, they're hard to make out, but they're imperfectly cut, so you see a little bit of the other colors coming through too, which is, I think, nice. So yeah, so there I go. That's gonna keep me busy for a little while, cutting out lots of little lights. So let me just switch the camera over, because I should probably sign off now. And I can't sign off without wishing you guys the very happiest of holidays, and thank you from the bottom of our heart for joining us for our virtual collage jams for today, and for as many times as you've been, which is awesome having your company. And please post what you do in Virtual Collage Jam on Facebook in our group. And if you are not a member, you can ask to join. The first time you post, you have to ask to join first. We'll approve you, and then you can post from then on. And yeah, it's called Virtual Collage Jam Group. If you search for that on Facebook, you will find it on my Cal Honey art page. And yeah, love to see your collages there. And you can also see what other people who are working on the same prompt did and posted as well, and chat amongst yourselves, comment on each other's posts. So yeah, and I will just read the last few comments before I go. Don't worry. Ricky asked, how do you spell Neen? So it's Neenha. So you've got it right, except instead of an M, it's an N. So Neenah. And it's Neenah is a paper manufacturer. So yeah, and that I don't think I mentioned it, but if you can buy that on Amazon for sure. I think I bought them at Michael's as well, but I also buy them online on Amazon. So Judy says, did the second pack also come from Staples? So yeah, there's your answer. I think Michael's is where I bought it in person, and Amazon online. So Philippa says, thank you so much for brightening up an otherwise dull and gray afternoon. You're very welcome, Philippa. I'm glad that it makes my heart happy to have you along. So yeah, that's awesome. Cherie says, I got 2 digital collages done on the holiday light theme. Awesome. Very, very, very quick and productive there, Cherie. That's awesome. She'll post them. Wishing everyone a happy Christmas, and I'll see you in the new year. Likewise, Cherie. Philippa says hi to Kim. I will definitely pass that along. Yes, the foot is healing well, no pun intended. Annie says, always fun to join everyone. Happy holidays, everyone. Keep well. See you soon. Hugs and kisses. Likewise, back to everyone. Happy holidays safe holidays from Philippa. Happy holidays from Ricky. Likewise. And I hope you have an excellent Christmas down there. Lisa, likewise. Thank you. And it has been fun, and I hope you have a really great holiday. You're very welcome, Jane. You too. Hi to Colin. Irina, I'm glad you enjoyed it. Thank you for joining us, and I hope you have an excellent Christmas or holiday. Irina says, and have a beautiful idea for a modern nativity scene. Awesome. So yeah, blessed holidays, and start again in 2024. Yeah. Happy holidays, everyone. Stay safe. Enjoy. Eat some turkey. Eat some whatever goodies, and we will see you in 2024. Okay, take care. Bye bye.